Hello and welcome to the Matt Black podcast. We're up to episode 20, bit of a milestone. We've got a comedian that's not from round here. It's Amy Albright. How are you doing?
Hi, not too bad, thanks. It's good to be here.
So you've travelled from Manchester?
From Manchester, yeah.
But you don't sound like you're from Manchester.
No. So I moved to Manchester a couple of months ago, and before that I was living in Middlesbrough.
Right.
Which still doesn't answer your question, does it?
Oh no, it's getting confusing already. I am from Barnsley though.
I guessed. You know what? I actually had a gig in Barnsley a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was awful because the gig itself was actually quite good. It went great. I really enjoyed it. But then I went back to my car afterwards and I'd parked in like a multi-story car park and they'd shut the gates on my car and I couldn't get in. I couldn't even get to my car. So I was stuck in Barnsley on a Friday night.
It's a terrifying thought, isn't it?
I know. The gig had gone great, but it didn't pay anything. And I now had to fork out for a hotel in Barnsley.
What, £6?
I wish. I made best friends with the staff at the Premier Inn, though. It was great. We shared pizza. It was actually kind of cute.
Oh, so you had literally had to wait until the morning then to...
Yeah, I couldn't get the car. And I couldn't even, I would have slept in the car, which I've done before, but I couldn't even get to it at all. It was just stuck. And I was in Barnsley, just about to cry.
That's happened to me once in Sheffield a long, long time ago. That was a John Lewis car park, and I'd gone to some kind of event in the afternoon. I thought, I'll just go in the car, save a bit of money, no messing about. And John Lewis shut, and I walked across the road and thankfully, I managed to go around all the big glass doors, and I was knocking, and I found the security guard who did actually go up and let me out.
That's so lucky.
Yeah, I weren't gonna. I kind of laid it on thick that I was thick. And,
yeah.
I think he just believed me anyway. But I'm quite good at portraying that, so it's all good.
I would have done. I just couldn't find anybody. I was ringing all the numbers. I just couldn't get anything. I was asking strangers on the street, and they were like, "I don't know, leave me alone."
Where was the gig then?
It was. I've got no idea. It was on the corner of this road.
In the centre.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. There was I know where the Premier Inn was that I stayed.
Was it near to the Premier Inn?
Yes. Yeah, it was quite near to the Premier Inn.
Was it run by Steve White?
No.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
It was run by Chris Mayer, who actually, I don't think he's doing gigs at the moment. It was Comedy on Set, which I'm not sure if that's still a thing actually. But it was just like a smallish gig, I think it was new act, new material. But it was in a really cool venue. Someone else is running gigs there at the moment actually.
Oh, we'll have to have a look. I'm always kind of trying to find places for stand up because round here it's hard. There's not a lot of it. People do like to come out for it, but they just, for some reason, Barnsley gets left off. They focus on the big cities, Sheffield, Leeds.
It's understandable.
Yeah,
I think there's a few smaller gigs in this general area, I think. But also, I don't really know where we are. So I don't actually. I don't
just
actually
followed
know.
the sat nav.
Yeah, I did. Well, that's also why I just assumed Barnsley, that's an hour away. It's not. It's a little bit further than that, and I just didn't think to check. And then I couldn't find my car keys today, but really couldn't find them, and I never found them.
It sounds to me like public transport might be a good thing for you.
Maybe, but I don't like people. I don't like the public. Public transport's fine if the public isn't there.
If they just showered every now and then,
that would be better. Yeah, I found my spare car key that I forgot I had, which is how I got here in the end. But I never actually found my car keys. They've just gone. They've just gone. I swear they're not there. I was looking for 20 minutes. They're not there.
Worrying.
I know.
They're probably living it up in a Premier Inn somewhere.
I think they are, along with my dignity. Yeah.
So where are you originally from then?
So I'm from Shirley, which is just outside of Birmingham.
Right. You don't sound like you're from Birmingham either.
You're still confused by the
so
accent.
Confused.
I know. So I actually had a Birmingham accent until I was 10.
Right.
So I'm born and raised just outside of Birmingham. That's the closest city to me. I was a little Brummie kid, and then I went to private school when I was 10.
Right.
And just picked up the accent.
Okay. Yeah.
Not deliberately. And I remember my first day, this kid was like, "Oh, you've got a Brummie accent." And she said it like I had shit on my face. But and I didn't fit in, but I was 10 and I didn't know about class differences and stuff. And I just picked up the accent, and now I sound like this. I don't have the money to back it up. People make assumptions about my upbringing, and it's not
I thought
true.
you were there because you were on horseback or something. You know?
Yeah, I know. I get that a lot. I'm also scared of horses, which always surprises people. They're just too big, and I don't get it.
Well, you know, they're massive, and they can give you, brain hemorrhage or something like that.
They can accidentally kill you, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, without really trying.
I know. They get spooked, and you're dead. And I just feel like that's not acknowledged enough. So no, not a horse.
Have you got any other fears that we should be aware of?
I don't like spiders. I know it's like a common one, but I'm fine with all other bugs. Just not, like as a kid, like I had ants crawling all over me. I had pet ants that I'd keep in like, those little sharpeners, and they've got the pot for the sharpening. Yeah, I'd keep ants in there as pets.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. But so like ants and other bugs are fine, just not spiders.
See, mine's the sea, just because I've watched too many Discovery Channel programs when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I'm just absolutely terrified of being in the sea. It's weird because I'll when you go on holidays and stuff, I'll be jet ski, loving it. If for whatever reason I come off, I need to get back on that jet ski immediately.
What, so you won't go swimming in the sea?
Oh no, I'm freaking out the moment. It's not. I'm a strong swimmer.
Yeah.
I've got no issue being in water. It's just not knowing what's underneath me that might just decide it wants to take a leg with it every now and then.
I get that.
So it freaks me out, and that and heights. So
yeah, I have a little thing for heights. I remember in like year 7 or something, we went on one of those like, PGL trips. It's like the.
You went to a different school to me. We didn't do anything at our school. We didn't really do any work. So
I mean, I also didn't do that. Everyone else in my school did. I did not. So that's the main reason I didn't fit in. But no, it was like an adventure weekend stuff. There was canoeing, and there was one of the things was high ropes.
Right.
And, like you're really high up, and you've got a harness, and you're clipped into the thing, and you've got to just like walk along like these just wires. Basically, and I was 11 years old, and I was up there, and I just burst into tears and refused to move. But then the really fit instructor had to come get me, so I feel like I was doing it kind of deliberately. Like 11-year-old me knew what she was doing.
Save me, damsel in distress.
Yeah.
So you spend majority. We were just talking earlier because you had a little bit of a delay, and you were like, cool, it's gigging hours, so you're used to being out late and doing gigs and stuff. So how often are you out doing the comedy shows at the moment?
So at the moment, I'm actually slowed down a bit. So I had a month off, partly planned, partly not, because I moved to Manchester very much on a whim.
Right.
I hadn't nothing was ready, so that was a big old stressful thing, getting everything over, unpacking. I didn't sleep for 2 days. It was just awful because it was so unplanned, which meant like I had a 2-bedroom house in Middlesbrough that was just filled to the brim with stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I can do this in my car. That's fine. I'm not going to hire a van. It's just a couple of trips in my car. It's fine. It wasn't fine. I have so much stuff, and I've moved to a small 1-bedroom, and it doesn't fit. So it was really stressful. So I just kind of stopped gigging for a bit to like do life. Sort that out. And then I got COVID for a 3rd time.
What, recently?
Yeah. Wow. I was just really sick, and I had a test left over, and I was just curious, and it was COVID. And I posted it on my Instagram, and so many people got really weird that I tested.
Yeah.
It's like they were personally offended or something. And it's just like, I just had a test left
the
over.
Anti-vaxxers have just come out.
I know, genuinely. The messages in my DMs are so weird.
Did you get so much like political stuff as well that you never asked for?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like people were just outing themselves, and they're like, you didn't even test when the pandemic was on. I'm like, what do you mean? So I was just really sick and couldn't do anything for a while. And then like, I'm fine now. I've started gigging again. I've had a few, but it's kind of hard getting back into it. And especially like now I live in Manchester, it's a great city for comedy. And there's all like the proper gigs. There's open mics like every night, which I'm not used to. But it's been kind of like it's a new circuit for me. Like I used to gig there a fair bit. I'd go over. I still know some people, but I felt almost a bit anxious about getting into the scene there and going through open mics, just because it's quite a close knit circuit, and I'm just there like just being the new person, and especially because like I know some of them, and then it's happened a couple of times at an open mic. Someone will come over and they'll go, "Oh, you're Amy Albright. I've heard people talk about you. You're really good. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Please don't say that. Please lower your expectations.
Pressure.
I know, because I'm there to get back into comedy and to try new material. I'm like, please don't think anything of me. Please don't even listen while I'm on stage. I'm doing this for just to say words out loud, not to be good. So it just feels like there's a lot of pressure, and I've just been, I guess, just putting it off a bit. But like I've got some proper gigs booked, so I need to get ready for that. I need to get back up to where I was. It's just hard getting back into it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I find it as like a musician, if I have a few weeks off going on a holiday and things like that, that first one when I come back, I'm like, oh, I feel a bit weird and jittery, and it doesn't even matter because these people don't care that I'm here, so why do I care so much? But you just do, because you just think to yourself, like when you boom, boom, boom every single week, you feel like you're in a flow, you're on form.
Definitely.
You're learning from every little thing that you might have done wrong the week before, and you just keep going, and then straight back in again. I think maybe, because like, to me, like Manchester, to me, is like a place that I adore to go to for comedy.
Yeah.
That's my go-to place for comedy, just because there's so much choice. Like I said, it's I know you said it's further away than you thought, but it's not that far when I compare it to like I have to go to London or somewhere like that.
Definitely, yeah. It was only like half an hour in the car. I just thought it was an hour, which I just made up. It's like it's not that far away. I just picked a number out of thin air. But
yeah, I think like with it being, it's a place that's got like a bit of a reputation for having lots of comedy and lots of good comedy as well. Maybe you're feeling the pressure of that because you've moved in there. They've got no idea that you've just moved in. They've, whether you've travelled across from Middlesbrough or you just drove down the road, they wouldn't know any different. But you now feel like you've got to prove yourself because you're
that's
part
exactly
of that.
it. That's exactly it. Yeah, I was actually so I went to this the Frog and Bucket. They do
I love it there.
Yeah, it's great, and it's on my doorstep. It's amazing.
Oh.
But they do they were doing like comedy mentoring sessions for women in comedy. I went to a few of those. Really great. Would definitely recommend. But the last one, it was Hattie Preston was like the guest person they had along to talk to us because she's a pro. She's fantastic. And one of the questions I asked was about joining the new open mic circuit, and I just said I was feeling a bit anxious about it, hoping to get some reassurance, basically hoping that she'd say, it doesn't matter, you're doing loads of cool stuff. The open mics are just a practice. Like, don't worry what those people think. That's not what she said. She did not make me feel better. She said, yeah, your first couple of months, you're basically on trial. You've got to prove to them that that you can do it. You've got to work back up to where you were. And I'm like, no, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I'm never going to do it now.
Yeah, you get transported to the 30s and a cane comes and pulls you off the stage.
I know. You're not good enough. Go back to Middlesbrough.
So I've been to a couple of those. Is it called King Gong nights?
At the Frog?
Or is it? It's something. I think it's at Comedy Store's got one.
Oh yeah.
I've been to one or two of those and watched those on like a Sunday night.
Yeah.
And obviously it's very hit and miss because some people have put the name down and they're just having a go. But I was thinking about it earlier when I knew that you were on your way, and I was thinking about these people that. Some were like really good and they'd managed to get a load of time. People weren't really, because they like show like kind of like glow sticks, red and green, whether they're being, if they think they're good, and if they're not, they get gonged off. And there were a guy and he just he just walked on and he just looked a little bit like a compressed Ed Sheeran. And he didn't say a word. He just stood there smiling, and everyone just started laughing because they were like, they all just thought, because he looked like every ginger guy you've ever seen, so they were all shouting all these things, and he got a bit of a wispy beard, and someone shouted Chewbacca, and then he just got gonged off. He never said a word, but he got about maybe 40-50 seconds of laughing.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, you don't sometimes need to even use your words. You can
that's
just
impressive.
You
Just
can
be a little bit funny looking.
He's just funny looking.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. Like, to me, it's like I used to really struggle with comedians that were all kind of like clean cut, tidy. Like, what's the guy called in America? Matt Rife is like, all the women love him.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he's too cool for me to find him that funny. So I'm like, yeah, he seems a nice guy. He's got a good sense of humor, but I don't find, I want to like his stuff, but I just don't seem to find it that funny. But then get someone in who's a bit dorky, and I'm like, they're just mannerisms, they're just funny before they've even started talking.
I think Matt Rife, particularly, he gets away with a lot because he's really pretty. It wouldn't. His comedy wouldn't work nearly as well coming from someone who was funny looking like that. The ginger condensed Ed Sheeran would not be able to pull off Matt Rife.
No, the MILFs would be getting on stage and slapping him.
Oh yeah.
Rather than throwing the number at him.
Yeah.
It's weird the abuse that they'll take though. Like, because if I don't know, say Michael McIntyre was doing that to him, or Frankie Boyle, they'd be filming if the stuff that they'd be saying to the people in the front row, they'd be chelping back. But for some reason, like you said, he just gets away with it. But
yeah, I know.
But then I'm thinking, are they here for the comedy? Are they?
Well, not entirely. No, which I think is completely fine. Like, I fully think you've got to use whatever you've got, and he's using the fact that he's hot. Like, fair enough. Absolutely go for it. But I also think it's because obviously he's American and his main fan base is America. Like, he's big elsewhere, but Americans definitely look for a different thing in comedians. And I think they prefer that high status thing as well. And like, I think British humor is a bit more low status. You want someone a bit funny looking. You want them to make self-deprecating jokes. But then they're not so much like that in America. They want you to walk on like you're Billy Big Bollocks. If you do that here, they will kill you. Yeah.
It's weird when you're saying it's like it's fine for them to come along, not just for the comedy, because people do that for musicians and stuff as well, don't they? You know, you get people lining up to go. You know, years ago, I'm pretty sure there were loads of women going to arenas that weren't there to listen to all the other songs that Peter Andre did, other than Mysterious Girl.
Yeah, exactly.
They wanted to look at a six pack. So
exactly, yeah. And I think that's fine because, like, obviously, comedians, it's about the comedy, but you're also just a performer. And the whole thing is a performance. So it's like how you don't just, I mean, some people do, but you don't just stand there and say jokes. It's about a lot more than that, especially if you're doing crowd work. It's a whole experience.
Yeah. It's, because like you say, they're not there just for the comedy or the music or whatever. They're there for the person, the way they look sometimes. And like, obviously there must be a bit of that in when I go to see a comedian, because I want to go and see a dorky comedian.
Exactly.
You know, I love them to look a bit grumpy and angry and a bit scruffy, and you know, rather than, I mean, it's kind of old school where like most comedians would turn up in a suit and they've got like, you know, perfect hair and they'd be quite cool and all that type of stuff back in the day, and then it kind of went a bit hippified for a while. But so you're like the youngest, newest comedian I've ever had on here, and probably had a conversation with, to be honest with you, because I've only really had conversations with older guys who were around a long time ago when it was very different comedy-wise.
Yeah.
So have you, obviously you haven't got that to kind of compare it to, so it's like, how do you find like being a comedian in this world right now where it's almost like everything's a touchy subject to a certain degree?
It's interesting you say that. I had this conversation with my hairdresser quite recently. It was a brand new hairdresser, and he, like, I mentioned I do comedy because I've got nothing else to talk about in my life. And so I mentioned that, and he went, oh, you know, that must be the hardest job in the world because you can't say anything nowadays. And I just thought, oh, God, here we go. He just started on my head. Like, I've got half an hour of this old man yapping at me about how you can't say anything. And, like, he's got a point to a certain extent. Like, you know, there's a lot happening in the political landscape. There's stuff going on. There are new things you can and can't say, and that's always changing. But like, you can say whatever you want. People do. So I wanted to say to him, like, go to a comedy club. People are still making those same jokes.
Yeah,
they're still doing that. Like, there's a comedy night called Comedy Unleashed, right. And that's like, it's meant to be dark humor and it's all stuff you can't say and it's edgy. I know the comics that do those nights. They're doing the same sets they do at all the other clubs.
Yeah.
But the people there, they're like, oh, I bet it feels good to be able to say whatever you want. It's like they're doing the same stuff everywhere. You can still say those jokes. You just can't, like, just straight up be offensive. But you can still be funny.
It's when it's clever, isn't it? It's like, you know, I've got friends who they'll say awful things to each other, and it'll be to do with it'll be to do with their appearance, the background, their upbringing, where they're from, all sorts of different things. But there's this like mutual understanding that they're both fine with it. I've just realised there's a fly in here and it's doing my absolute head in. I've got ADHD brain kicking in there. But yeah, it's but then like if an outsider was listening to it, they'd probably get offended on the one of them's behalf.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that annoys me, is that like those people shouldn't be there. Don't go and watch comedy shows if you are going to get offended by things, because the whole point of a joke is to make a joke about something. And I don't understand why people think that it's fine, you know, oh, well, I accept that we can make jokes about that, but I don't want to make jokes about this. You know, people seem to make jokes about almost anything unless it affects them, which is weird. But it's like, there's lots of things that's affected my life in a very negative way that I still make jokes about myself, about the things that's gone on, and I'm just like, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry, you know.
Yeah, I think that's actually why a lot of people go into comedy.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people on stage that should be in therapy.
Speaking of which, what was your reason for choosing to go into comedy?
Oh, good question. I don't feel like I chose to. Well, it was my calling. No, it's just I always loved being on stage, and I liked making people laugh. I didn't really realize that at the time. It's like at school, I was just being stupid to make my friends laugh. I was always that person, and I love being on stage. I never had the opportunity to do stand-up. It never occurred to me. But like all the school plays, all the stupid little assemblies where they want a volunteer. There was one thing at school once, and I ended up eating baby food on stage. I don't remember why. And I was always doing that. And I remember thinking I'd like to try stand-up maybe, but it wasn't a real thing. It was just like maybe one day I'll go skydiving. One day I'll do stand-up, you know, just one of those things. And it was actually, it was a couple of years ago, I split up with my ex. And after that, I was like, right, I'm doing everything in life that I want to do. I'm going to go have a life. I'm going to do these things. And it was actually, I was planning to start doing improv because I was watching like little videos of these guys. It's a really funny group that do it. I thought, that seems great fun. I'd love to do that. And I started looking for an improv course near me. Couldn't find one, but I stumbled on a stand-up course. And I thought, why not? I'm just going to sign up immediately before I chicken out. Yeah. So I did it right then and there. I thought, right, okay, I'm doing a stand-up course. That's fine. That's interesting. It'll be it's something to do after work. I'll meet new people. Maybe it'll be fun. I didn't even consider the fact I'd keep doing it afterwards. I didn't know what the circuit was. Yeah. I didn't know any of these things. But I went along and just absolutely loved it. And it was like the best thing I've ever done. And I don't know what I'd do with my life if I didn't do stand-up now. I think I don't know what I'd do with all the free time.
Netflix,
yeah. I don't know what I did before stand-up. I think I was just Netflix and crying. Yeah. So I don't know. Now I'm just too busy
to stuff on there.
Just too busy to cry. So yeah. I just loved it more than I thought I would, and was like, I'm not going to say I was amazing at it off the bat, but I was still better than I thought I would be.
Yeah.
And it almost wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And this is something I tell a lot of people that are thinking about it. Like, it's not that hard. The biggest hurdle I found, I know some people agree with this, but not everybody. I think the biggest hurdle is being comfortable on stage. And I was already comfortable with that. Like the writing jokes, it comes, you get better at it. It's just experience. I'm definitely not there yet. And it's the thing I struggle with most is the writing. But I just love being on stage. Yeah. And that's maybe the hardest part.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the being comfortable part on stage. My last episode, I had a musician on called Daz, who he plays like a variety of levels from busking up to like bigger supports and things, playing acoustic and singing. And we both kind of agreed that we'd both feel more comfortable playing to like 1,000 plus than 20, 30 people.
Definitely.
And that's the thing that I find like terrifying about what you guys do. Yeah. Where if there's those type of nights where you've got to compare and maybe 3 or 4 acts on the bill, and it's like you say, like a bit of a pop-up kind of event, and there's 20 to 50 people in, the idea of standing there and having to talk to that small amount of people, you can see all the faces and all their expressions. I would hate that. But put me there on a stool with an acoustic guitar, I'll speak to them all night and play and sing, and that's perfectly fine. But
it's the same thing. But
to just take the guitar away and have to talk. But I think it's because it's like when you're playing, it's like if they can, you've got a good 3 to 5 minutes before you do the next song. So you're just in your own world. You just do what you do. they might clap a bit. They might do it out of politeness. But I think when it's like a comedy thing, people don't clap if the joke's shit. They just go. They're just kind of silent.
Yeah.
Or start shouting abuse. That doesn't really happen so much in music unless you're absolutely terrible. But if they don't like it, they just kind of go, yeah, clap a little bit, and then you just start the next one because the ripple's not gone on for long enough.
Yeah.
We've got that to hide behind. Like what you guys do, that takes like a different level of bravery. That absolutely freaks me out. Like I can feel myself getting warm thinking about it. It's weird.
Yeah, I do get that, and I definitely agree that it's more nerve-wracking doing it to a smaller group of people, and it's often in venues that are better set up for comedy, you have all the lights off, so you can't see the audience faces. That's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I remember actually my first ever gig. So I'd done like at this comedy course, like each week we'd get up and practice just like the other 10 people on the course. But my first gig was when I was still on the course. So it was a bit of a weird one. I'd never done an open mic and ended up as in a middle spot on a pro lineup. And it was in a micro pub in a village somewhere in the northeast. And it was about 50 people packed into this room. All the lights were on. I could see all their faces. It was my first ever gig. I'd been doing comedy for like 6 weeks, maybe even less. I wasn't very good at it yet, but I ended up, like, there was a dropout, and I knew the guy running the gig, and he was like, do you want to just do 5 minutes or something? And at first I told him no, I don't want to do that. No. But then I thought, like, that's way too good an opportunity. Like, normally you've got to do all the open mics before you get up to this level. I'm like, I have to go and take this. And I remember, like, I was on stage, I had my set written out on the back of my hand. I was terrified.
Yeah.
And I just was in my own little world, just doing my set. I didn't have the confidence to be really making eye contact or interacting or like going off script at all. So I was just doing my set. They laughed in all the right places. I think they applauded one joke, and I was like, this is unreal. It was mad. I came off stage, my hand was shaking.
Yeah.
Just pure adrenaline. And it was just like, it just felt amazing. But I was terrified up there. They were all looking at me. And I had never done this before. They'd paid to be at that gig, and I was just there like, they're looking at me, waiting for me to entertain them. I can't do this. I don't know why they loved it, because I've watched the video back and I was shit, and I don't know why they laughed. I remember when I had my first year anniversary being comedy, I was like, oh, I'll post a clip from my first gig. That'll be nice. And I watched the clip, and I'm like, I'm not posting that. That's shit. That's terrible. It's so embarrassing. How did anybody let me do that? But at the time, I was like, I'm king of the fucking world. But it was really bad. I don't know why they laughed, but they did. And they didn't know it was my first gig either. The MC said afterwards, they're like, oh, and that was Amy's first gig. And then the crowd went nuts. And I was like, this is insane. It's
like a different level of respect once they know that, don't they? But
yeah.
Almost, it's kind of good they didn't tell them before, because if they did, you might have got pity laughs.
Yep.
Because I think I probably would maybe make a little bit of noise for someone if I thought that they were their first gig, because I just the thought of it freaks me out. Like I said, I don't know how they do it, and we've done it before. We've been to like hot water comedy in Liverpool and things, and there was some great people on there, like killer comedians, to the point where they're like, because of COVID and everyone putting things online, they're a lot bigger now than they were 5-6 years ago. But there was one guy, and I can't even remember his name, but I can remember his face, who was awful. But he seemed such a nice guy, but he was so awful. And he just had one joke that was funny that everyone laughed at, and then just proceeded to try and like repeat that joke in different ways throughout, because he realised it was the only thing that were working. And then it got to a point where it was like, all right, it's dragging on now.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like called him off a little bit earlier, and the compare filled the gap, and I was like, oh, that's just my worst nightmare. That it's like, but like when you were talking about jumping out there and doing something at a good level, and within 6 weeks of learning, I couldn't play guitar in the first 6 weeks. If the idea of having to perform 6 weeks in, I were like, and sing, I were like, God knows what it would have sounded like. I don't know how people can just throw themselves in the deep end like that.
Well, comedy's just talking, isn't it?
I suppose, but it's not. It's like when you're with your friends, everyone thinks they're the funniest person there, don't they? And you do have some great laughs when you're in groups of friends, don't you? Like the stuff that you, like you say, the things that you can get away with saying to each other. It's hilarious, but it doesn't come across that way when you're talking to a group of strangers because they don't know the backstories of all your friends and all the situations, so they don't understand the irony of it. And it's like the idea of going and doing that for some reason. I know, like you said, it's the same. It's just talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's the same as for a musician. Like some people are very happy just playing guitar or singing at home, and then put them in front of people, and they just crumble. And
it's because you're putting yourself in front of people and basically asking them to judge you. Like that's basically what it is. You're inviting that judgment from them.
Yeah,
and I think that is terrifying, especially like when you do gong shows and stuff in comedy. That's exactly what you're doing. You're saying, please judge me, please card me off if I'm shit. And I hate gong shows because I am shit at them. Because I won one of them, and I've been consistently shit at all the others. And I've got one on Monday because the Frog and Bucket they do Beat the Frog,
right,
which is a gong show just like King Gong, and they put cards up when they want you to get off stage. I've done that I think 4 times, and you're trying to get to 5 minutes. The longest I've done is about 3 minutes 40.
That's quite good though.
No, it's not.
from what I've seen, some people don't get like 20 seconds in and they get gonged off.
One guy recently got to 7 seconds and got, well, he called the MC and the MC got him off stage.
Right.
Which was a bold move. And watching the video was incredible. But I think I got carded off after about 50 seconds once, which was awful. They're meant to give you a minute to settle in. But I mean, I haven't done that gong show for a while. It was like when it was my first year of comedy, when like, I think because I had that proper gig as my first gig, and then I started just getting opportunities that I wasn't really ready for. I think it gave me a false sense of confidence,
right,
which is not beneficial. I think it set me back. But I started doing these gong shows and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so good, I don't need to prepare, I'm going to be amazing at this. And I just wasn't, and I was shit. And then I was like, well, why was I shit? Why am I so bad? I did all these other cool things. And it's like, it's because, I mean, a few months in, you're not going to be very good. You're still really new. Some people are. I know some people who they've done that gong show as their first gig and they want it. Like, it does happen, but it's so rare. And with gong shows as well, like, a lot of it is, I don't want to say luck, but like, it depends where you are in the lineup. What if the person before you got through, or if they didn't, or if they were shit. And like, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and where you are. Like, if you're on, I did one time I was there. It'd been a really long night. There were 15 acts on, and I was right near the end of it. And the MC said, right, guys, come on. I know it's been a long night. I know you're tired. And I'm like, what are you doing? You can't bring me on now.
Yeah.
And it was long night. It was hot. Everyone was tired. I'm like, I don't even want to be here.
Just going to acknowledge all the negatives before bringing the next act on.
Yeah, please try and stay awake for this one, guys. Come on. I'm like, what are you doing? So like, obviously, you've got to be good, but there's a lot more factors that go into it.
So, because I'm a massive fan of stand-up, but I'm a little naive to how some things work in the background. And so it's like you're saying you don't really like the gong shows, and you said you don't feel that you're very good at them, but you're doing them. Is that because it's something that you have to do to kind of tick a box in the circuit, or is it because you personally just think, well, I'm going to keep doing it until I get good at it?
So it's a little bit of both. You never have to do a gong show. You can go your entire comedy career and never do one, but it can be helpful. But I also think, like, personally, I think too much emphasis is put on gong shows. Like, you don't ever need to do one. But places like the Frog and Bucket, they want to see you do well at the gong show to then progress you. It's not the only way, but it's a pretty common way. And I know a lot of other venues that do them are like that as well. But for me, I got obsessed with the Frog and Bucket gong show. I think after the second time that I died on my ass, I was like, no, I'm going to be here every 6 weeks until I beat this. That lasted another 2 goes before I was like, this is just upsetting me now. For my own mental health, I need to stop.
I'm going to go home and watch Netflix.
I know, I'm going back to crying. So then I didn't do it again for, I think, about probably a while, maybe like 8 months. I gave up because I just thought, on one hand, I thought, it doesn't matter. It's a gong show. It doesn't actually matter. You can go off and still be a good comedian other ways. You can still work your way up and just not use it. But I also the plan was to go off and become a good comedian and then come back and win the gong show. And I thought, because I kind of realised that I just needed to get better at comedy. I think I was just quite new and naive, and I did have this inflated ego just because of the opportunities I'd gotten. I think there's also some styles of comedy are better suited to gong shows than others. And mine isn't necessarily, like, I'm quite chatty, conversational, and not very bang, 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 joke, joke, joke.
Yeah.
Which is what you kind of need to be. Not always, but it helps to just keep the audience engaged.
Yeah, you need that. You need to capture their attention straight away, don't
Yeah.
you? You need a laugh early on.
Yes, that's exactly what they say. Yeah. And
A story's not going to cut it. It might have a belting line at the end, but if it's 40 seconds long, you've probably been gonged off by then.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what it is. So some people are better suited to it than others. I do think if you're a good comedian, you should be able to do it no matter your style. But like, I'm still very new. I'm still learning. So I stopped doing it for a while just to go and get better at comedy and to stop breaking my heart every time. And I'm back there on Monday.
Yeah.
And I was planning to be much better prepared than I was, because obviously, like, I had that gap from performing, which I wasn't planning, and I'm just not prepared. And I've just told myself, it's fine. You're not gonna make the 5 minutes, but that's fine. Just know it's not gonna be very good. No, you're gonna feel like shit afterwards. It's fine. It's definitely fine.
I think if you prepare yourself for that, though, it's like you're not going to be disappointed, but then you could be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
But it's one of those. I think like you're saying it, because I like I said, I weren't sure if it were an essential thing that you have to do, but then it's probably quite a useful tool, because if you got something, say like a live at the Apollo, you've got to have a killer few minutes there, haven't you?
Yeah.
And that kind of pushes you to have a killer,
Exactly.
a killer intro. You need your first 3 jokes to be amazing straight away. You're going to make a good impression. Same way we do with music if we play a festival slot or a support slot for audiences that have never heard who we are. It's like, right, we need to make sure that first 3 is just bang, 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 and there's no messing around. There's no awkward silences in between. We need to make sure it's just seamless. You've got to grab them early on, because they'll just go. I mean, it's not so bad with comedy, because I don't think they'll just wander off. But like my type of gigs, they will definitely kind of just wander. They'll just go, I'm going out for a cig, or I'm going to a bar or whatever. They kind of don't encourage that, do they, in the comedy gigs? But people do walk out. I've seen people doing it.
They do, yeah, especially like open mics and stuff. But no, you're exactly right, and that's one of the reasons. It's another reason I kept doing them. It is mainly just because I got obsessed and wanted to win. But I definitely do think there is value, because it makes you tighten up your set so much. Like, you have to chuck out all the crap, all the waffle to just get those jokes.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's not really how I want my set to normally be, because I do like being conversational. But it just helps you see where the fluff is, or where a joke isn't great, or where it needs more work.
Yeah, you've like panned out the stuff you don't need, and you can just, right, cool. This is all the killer bits.
Yeah.
And then if you do a longer show at a different event, you can kind of go, right, cool. I'm going to put all that in, but I've caught them in the first few minutes here now. Cool. So I can drag out this little bit of a story.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen before with comedians, because obviously I don't know why people, your kind of general Joe public don't understand that comedians don't just tell a joke once.
Oh, yeah.
They think that, like, they'll go, well, he said that at that show we saw him, and he's doing it on DVD, and it's like, yeah, because he did it for like 18 months.
Yeah,
he just
that's his set.
Yeah, that comedian there, they've gone, wherever that person is, they've travelled just doing the same thing, because they've worked on it like a band does when they release an album, and they'll play those same songs for X amount of time.
Yeah,
Then they'll come back and bring some new ones, and maybe revisit the old ones, same like with a lot of comedians will like reference stuff. You'll always get your Peter Kay audiences wanting him to do something where he says the words garlic bread, but they want new stuff at the same time. And I think people don't realise that, but the jokes themselves I've seen before, because I've seen some comedians where they're like at the start and the end of a tour, if I enjoyed it so much I'll go back again, and they've kind of developed it. They've changed the story a little bit, because they've realised over the course of 20 shows that is just doing those little tweaks has made it even funnier, or whatever, or saying it a certain way. And I don't know, I just think it's, for comedians, it's like so hard at the beginning, because like you said, you're finding your feet with it. It's like getting comfortable being on stage, learning how to what technique you're going to use and stuff, because there's so many different styles, isn't there? Comedy.
Yeah.
But then people's like some of my favorite comedians, I'll see videos of them like 10, 15 years apart, and I'll be like, they're amazing now, they're not so good. Like, I love Mickey Flanagan, and then he's openly said that he was terrible in the early days, and I've heard audio recordings of him in the early days, and I was like, wow, I probably wouldn't have sat through that. But I could listen to him talk crap all day now. And that's something that's like it's like kind of honing your craft, isn't it, over the time?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And like they say, I mean, different people say different things, but everyone says for the first X number of years, I've heard 2 years, I've heard people say 5 years. So the first up to 5 years, you're going to be shit. And that's what, you just have to accept that for a while. You've got to make it through those first few years. And that's the hardest part. And you've got to figure out, I'm very much still figuring this out. And I changed my persona a lot on stage as well, and style of jokes. I started off going too dark, which is, that is what I find funny, but it's really hard to do when you're new, because you've got to do it right. And I frequently have not got it quite right, and it's easy to be accidentally offensive sometimes. Yeah. And I've definitely made that mistake, just because it's really hard to get the right level of dark without just being a bit of a prick.
It's because if they don't know, if you're new and they don't know who you are, they don't really trust you, do they? Because they don't know anything about you. And if this is your style, it's thrown them off because they weren't expecting it. Because most of the time, when you go to a kind of a very commercial type of place, it's a commercial audience, so they're not always comedy fans. They're probably once every 3 years let's go to a stand-up. Yeah. So-and-so's birthday, or it's a stag do or a hen do or something. And they're not really there for it properly. They just think it's a nice idea. And then they're like, oh my God, they're saying all things about dead babies. And it's like, you know, and it's you know, like I said, it's like when group chats with friends, you know, you could say the sickest stuff to each other, and you're purposely trying to like make it, you know, say the worst things to each other. But for some reason, when it's out in the open, everyone just loses their minds.
I know. It's because you're just there, a stranger, saying horrible things to them, and they don't know how to react. And some of the time they don't, it's like they don't know that they're allowed to laugh. Yeah. And like, you've really just got to do it well. You've got to, like, they say, don't start off being dark, like open on a more, you know, with normal jokes, and then get darker, because they learn to trust you. They go, oh, this person's funny, and then they're used to laughing, they're more warmed up, and then you can go a bit darker. And as well, it's in like how you write the joke, and you've just got to craft, and your delivery as well. So even some of the jokes I do now, I'm trying to steer away from being dark at the moment, just because I want to get good at comedy, and then I can do it later when and have more skills, is what I'm thinking at the moment. Although I thought I wasn't being dark, I got a quote from a promoter recently, really lovely quote. He was saying great things, but he said something about me doing dark material, and I'm like, I didn't think I was being dark. That was my clean, wholesome set. What do you mean?
Desensitize yourself to it after a while,
I think so, yeah.
So we do it like something like the band chats will like make jokes to each other and stuff in like Messenger and things, and then you kind of just find yourself talking like that in day to day, and I'm like, whoa, careful, these are normal people. I can't do this here. It's exactly, and that's for me. I'm not a comedian. I'm just a normal person. That's like, we can't make that kind of joke in this environment. I think it's because it's not. You know, you couldn't just like go into some certain workplace and start saying the stuff that you're going to say on stage. You might as well just get a bed made up in HR. You know,
I know. I keep my work and my comedy very separate for that exact reason. It's also the main reason I've got a stage name, is just to like keep it all separate. Like, I don't have a particularly like exciting job or anything, but it's just like, it's still a professional job, and I'm not professional on stage. So it's a risk. It's a risk. I remember once, actually, I was at Beat the Frog. I think it was the last time I did it, like 8 months ago or something. And I had a dark joke, which I don't do anymore.
Right.
Because I learned. And I had a top-up that was worse. And I remember thinking, this is a risk. This might not go well, especially that audience. Because you find different venues, even different cities, will respond better or worse to different stuff. So my favourite audience to perform to is Hull. I absolutely love the people of Hull. They will they want all the dark, sick jokes. It's amazing. I love them. They're incredible. Same with Liverpool. So Hot Water, you can get away with stuff there as well. Frog and Bucket, especially on the Monday night when they do Beat the Frog, you can't do it there. It's mostly, well, not mostly, but like, there's a lot of younger students.
I don't know why. I just knew you were going to say that. Yeah. And I thought you were going to start it off with the word woke.
I deliberately didn't. I normally would, and I'm like, don't say that. It's because I consider myself to be woke as a person, just not on stage. Woke isn't funny.
No, at all.
No one wants to just listen to someone on stage just spouting reasonable views. Like, that's not funny. I want to see someone being like a bit of a dick, you know? But those audiences tend not to go for it as much, and as well, like with someone like me who's a bit newer, maybe not doing it as well, it just doesn't, at least the 4 times I've tried, right. it doesn't work. But this time I was like, I think this is really funny. I know it's dark, I know it's bad, I think it's funny, I'm gonna do the joke. It was a risk, and I knew that, but I was kind of fine with it not going well. I just wanted to take the risk for myself. I really feel
like I need to know what it is.
Oh, I don't.
You tell me after.
Okay, yeah. I still don't think it's that bad. But it's... I said the first bit of the joke, and it was a bit quiet. And I went, okay. I can
sense them tighten up.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I can make a very quick choice here. Do I double down or do I back away? And you've got a split second. They're all looking at me. You've got a split second to decide what you're doing. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm doubling down. And I said the joke, and it was silent. And the MC looked at me, and he just went, I'm like, okay, this is not good. I think I got like another 10 seconds, and the little cards went up. And I was like, oh, you know what, I just wanted to see.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see.
Well, that's what those are for, aren't they? You say it's, because I'm guessing people don't get paid for those, do they?
No.
So it's like...
It's practice.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's and there's no better way to practice as a comedian than in front of an audience.
Yeah.
Like, we've all done things before, like not even in a comedian sense, where you think something's funny in your head and then you say it to people and they go, can't believe you just said that. I'm like, oh well.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those. Anytime I write new material in my head, it's always amazing, and I'm like, this is it. This is gonna make me famous. It's always dog shit. It's always dog shit. And I say it on stage, and I'm up there, like I'm so confident, and I say this joke, and it doesn't even register to the people watching that I tried to make a joke. They just have no idea. They're like, okay, finish your story. I'm like, no, that was it. That was my joke. And it's just...
Why is this person just offending us?
I'm not always offensive. I'm trying to be less. I think I'm always going to lean that way a little bit, just because it's just what I personally find funny. And I think you have to enjoy what you're doing on stage.
Yeah.
Otherwise it shows. Otherwise you're not enjoying yourself. Because like at the end of the day, like I make a little bit of money from comedy, but it's mostly something I do because it's fun.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to do it if I'm just saying jokes that I don't find funny. 'Cause, like, where's the fun in that? It's a lot of effort. Like I've driven up and down the country. I've slept in my car. You know, I'm not doing that if I'm not having fun.
Yeah, you've got to be driven, haven't you? You've got to have a passion for it. We've done it with the bands and stuff, musicians. Like, 9 times out of 10, because I'm a bit older now, I just get to a point where I'm like, I need to have a hotel. But I have slept in my car multiple times. I've slept on sleeping bags on the floor and all sorts, on carpets that I'm questioning how long they've been down there and when they were last touched by, a Hoover or anything that cleans them. And it's just like, you just do it because you just love it. So yeah, you've got to have that little bit of a fire in your belly to do these mental things. Because normal people kind of, they finish work at tea time and then they just kind of like go, what? And you're doing things after work, like, oh no, we've got to like, get
Netflix and cry.
Yeah, just cry and then worry about coming back here tomorrow. That's what they do. They just get themselves through another week. So the idea that like there's other things that's like happening at night time, past 8 o'clock, outside at past 8 o'clock, and then going out till after clock and travelling miles and miles and getting your car locked in, in car parks and stuff like that. That's alien to a lot of people.
It is a really weird way to live your life, and I think it was only kind of when I stopped doing it for a bit, because like having this month off is the longest break I've had since I started. And it made me think, this is such a weird thing I do, because I was working, like I had free evenings. I'm like, this is so nice. Is this what other people do? Because normally when I'm gigging properly, it's 3 or 4 times a week, and I work full time during the day. So I'm finishing work at like 5 or 6. Especially when I was living in Middlesbrough, I'd be driving like 2 hours to get to a gig was pretty standard. I was doing that regularly. That didn't faze me. You drive 2 hours, you're at the gig. I'd always tried and watched the entire thing, because you learn a lot from watching the openers and the headliners, and as well you meet them, you network. So I was always, unless I really had to leave or was really far away, I'm there for the entire gig. That's minimum 2 hours. Then a 2-hour drive home. That's 6 hours after I've just done a full 8-hour workday, and I'm like, this is fine. I'll do that 3 more times this week.
Yeah, and then you've got to come back and then do all the usual house stuff that's
yeah,
boring.
I just don't do that.
Yeah.
Everything is chaos. My entire life is chaos. I can't, I don't know why, I can't wash dishes. Right, and this isn't a comedy thing. I just can't. But I've got a dishwasher now where I've just moved. I've got a little one that goes on the countertop.
So you're getting rid of the paper plates now then?
I genuinely had paper plates.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I was joking there.
I know. This is how bad. And like in the old house, when I was moving, this is really bad. I was putting dirty dishes into a bin bag and bringing them to the new house to put them in the dishwasher.
Wow.
So like, I'm not washed. I can't. I'm never washing another dish. I just can't. So, and that's the case anytime. And let alone when I'm gigging 4 nights a week, the house is just trashed. And especially now I've just moved. I'm just a chaotic person. And now I've just moved, and like, I still haven't unpacked all the boxes. It's still a bit chaotic.
Don't worry, because when we're talking about like all the random stuff I've got in this studio, and I mentioned I've got a room in a unit somewhere in West Yorkshire. I know that there's 2 boxes in there that I packed when I left my mother's house when I was 24 to move into my first house, and they've never been opened.
Oh.
And they've gone to every house that I've been to.
Yeah.
I'm 39 now, and they just came here and then just got took there.
Do you even know what's in them?
Probably CDs, DVDs, maybe some computer speakers that were top of the range at the time.
Nice. You could sell them.
No. No, like top of the range at the time.
Oh.
So they're probably worth like £3 now.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're just going to leave them in the box forever?
Yeah. It feels a bit weird, like the idea of opening them now. I think I might just leave. I don't
Is
even
it like
know.
Emotional support box now? Like you can't get rid of them. You can't. It just has to stay there perfectly.
They've just
preserved.
become a time capsule,
Yeah.
and I didn't even realise.
That's kind of nice though.
But I've not. I should have. If I'd have thought on, there'd have been other things I'd have put in there to mess with people's minds in the future. So I'm just a bit gutted that But I suppose I could add a box, but it would look obvious that it's been added much later than the others.
Probably.
So they're a bit battered now.
But that would add to the mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
There
was
you go.
confusing further.
Why did he add a third box?
Yeah.
like,
why didn't he clear out
many
this stuff?
moons
Why did he
later?
put more stuff here? What is the significance of the boxes? Why does he keep adding to them? Is he going to bring another one in?
I don't know why. I've just realised how weird I've become. No, that's just like my weird things. But I think you've got to be a bit weird to be on stage sometimes, though. Like unless of course you're Matt Rife, you just want to be cool. There's people that's cool. But then,
that's why I do it.
You've got to be you've got to be cool, or you've got to be weird. You know.
I'm convinced every comedian either has autism, ADHD, or anxiety, depression. Literally all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're outing everyone now, aren't you? From the green room.
Genuinely, it's true. I don't think any comedian would disagree with me on that.
I've heard that it's not exactly... People think in their mind that, God, it must be hilarious being in a green room with comedians. Apparently, it's not. It's just like
I
lot of...
I think it depends. So I've been in green rooms with comedians like much more experienced than me, and I found that very fun. And a lot of them, like the professionals who've been doing this 10 years, I do think they're hilarious, and they are that quick just in conversation, and you're just talking to them normally, and they're still making jokes and making connections, and it's just like this is so funny, it's amazing. But it's like the open mic green rooms that get sad sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends on a lot of things. Like
A lot of crying in hands.
Yeah, and you get a lot. You get some weird people at the open mics, and yeah, it just gets weird. sometimes. And like I said, a lot of people go on stage when they should be in therapy. You see
Yeah.
a lot of that at open mics.
I've seen that before. Like sometimes they come out, like the angry comedians. They want to be a ranter. They want to be a George Carlin, and then
I tried that once. It didn't work.
yeah, and it's like they're not actually funny. They're just
Yeah.
shouting things
Yeah.
that piss them off.
Yeah, I did that. I did that at Beat the Frog once. I don't know why I thought it would work. It didn't.
But that's like I say, that's trialing different techniques, isn't it? Different personas. You know.
Yes. Interestingly, one of the things I've struggled with, so like you picked up on my accent like immediately. I started gigging in Middlesbrough in the Northeast. I stood out and I was like, I have to address this somehow. And the first way I did it, I leaned into being posh. So it's like, that's not really my background. It's just the accent. But it's so much easier to lean into it because like you're going along with what people think already. There's definitely funny angles you can do there. It's easy. Otherwise you're convincing people of something else, like they have an image of you, and if you go against that, you've got to make it funny and be like, actually no guys, this is who I am, and that's a whole big thing.
Yeah.
It's easier to lean into it. So I started doing that, but I hated it, and it wasn't authentic, and like I wasn't doing it as well because it wasn't authentic, because you're not being yourself, which meant I wasn't enjoying myself as much. It didn't feel real. I was holding back other parts of myself. So it seems easier, but it was actually harder. And especially some of the jokes I wanted to write didn't fit in with this persona. So some aspects of my life, I'm like, oh, that doesn't fit with being the middle-class horse girl they think I am, you know. So you're weaving everything in. And I just wasn't enjoying that. And then for a bit, I started making jokes about, oh, I sound like this, but that's not my background. Then I was saying, like, that's difficult as well, because you're still going to make it funny whilst challenging them. And then it also seems like, oh, she's pretending to be working class because it's cool. And it's like, that's not it either. And it's like, it's really been really difficult to navigate that, just because I started off in the Northeast and even now in the Northwest. It's this, they assume I'm a Southerner and I'm not. The Midlands is a real place. Yeah. And it's just been a weird thing. And I'm going to name drop here. I spoke to Jack Whitehall about this because I did a gig with him in Newcastle. It was at the Stand. It was just, it's like the new act, new material night, and he showed up to headline. And on the way out, I kind of followed him down the street a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's completely normal. You're going that way.
Thank you. Yes, I told him I was going that way.
Premier Inn's that way.
I wasn't. Yeah. He walked out ahead of me. Like, he was chatting to us in the green room. He was great, really nice, really normal guy. And like I was chatting to him, but like as part of a group, just chit-chatting. And I was like, actually, I want to take this opportunity to ask him some questions. So he was walking out in front of me and I was a bit behind, and I realized it was him. And I was like, oh, I need to, I should go catch up with him. Like, I'm not going to be around him again. But then he turned off in the opposite direction of my car. And I thought, I've got a choice to make here. I can be fucking weird or I can be normal and go home. So I followed him down the street. And he was still a bit far ahead, and like he had his little cap on, I think, like didn't want to get recognized or something. And he was a bit far ahead of me. So I just started shouting, Jack!
Jack Whitehall!
Just like he was my best friend, and not like just follow him down the street. And he turned around and I was like, oh, sorry, I was just going the same way. It's an absolute lie. But I asked him how because obviously he's actually posh, but he started gigging in Manchester because I think he went to uni in Manchester and started there. So he had the exact same thing. And he said when he first started gigging, he tried to tone down his accent and like just fit in a bit more, I guess. But he said that wasn't authentic and it didn't really work for him very well. And he also said in regards to, so you get it a little bit with other comedians being funny with you, because I think there's a big push at the moment to get more working class people in the creative industries, which is obviously something we do need to do. But it makes this kind of divide, especially like I found it difficult to manage because like I didn't grow up especially privileged. I just have the accent and no money. So it's like, I'm just like begging people to just see beyond that a little bit and not make these assumptions. And I asked him about that and he said, he had the same issue. People, I mean, it's different because he actually has a lot of money, so fair enough. But it doesn't mean you're a dickhead. You can still be a nice person and have money. And
still be funny.
Exactly. So he still faced people being, weird about it. And he said with the other comedians, just kill them with kindness. is what he said. Just don't give them a reason to dislike you. Just be nice, and they'll go over it. Because it's not personal. It's not that they don't like me. They just got their own assumptions. But if I'm just a nice person, they can't have an issue with me.
Yeah.
And it was worth chasing him down the street to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
And just what he said about being authentic really stuck with me.
Did he know? Does he know to this day that you chased him down the street?
No.
I don't think he watches this anyway.
I hope not. I mean, for your sake, I hope he does. But I hope he doesn't know that I chased him down the street. I think I played it really cool because I could have kept going. Because he was going to his hotel. And part of me was like, should I follow him to his hotel? But I didn't. I got to a point and I'm like, oh, I'm going this way.
Yeah.
I was going like a mile in the opposite direction, but I had to turn off at some point. So I think I played it cool.
I always think it's harder for comedians with a southern accent to win over northern audiences because they, like I said, people just assume straight away they've got money.
Yeah.
Unless they've turned up like they've just rolled off the street, they're just going to assume they've got money.
Yeah.
And people just love to hate people that they think have got something they haven't. You know, like.
Yeah.
How many times do you see like someone drive down the road in a supercar and people just go wanker? You know,
I do that.
Yeah, They don't think like, oh, you know, that guy's 50 and he's maybe worked to the bone
saved
since
up
he
and
was
that's his
14
pride
years
and
old.
joy and his, you know,
he runs a successful business. He might be feeding the homeless, but he's got a Ferrari wanker.
Yeah,
so
it's a very British thing.
Yeah,
it's not. It's much less of a thing in the States. They've got like a, you know, more of a go-getter attitude. Like, yeah, you work hard and you get that. But here we're like, no, we don't.
Yeah,
we don't want to do
have a nice day, buddy. Which that kind of feels like a bit of a cute kind of situation when they say that.
Yeah.
I suppose it's how you say it though, isn't it? It's that same way that like when people tell you when you're on a night out and they tell you to enjoy your night, you know.
Yeah.
There's
subtext.
Have a nice night or enjoy your night, mate.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I love the British. we never say what we're thinking.
They're far more complicated than people think they are.
Definitely are. Yeah. One thing when I first started gigging, I made a lot of jokes about living in the Northeast. And it was your typical, oh, the North is shit jokes. But in a way, I got away with it more because I don't know why I got away with it, but I did. And everybody laughed and it always went down well. And it was like the more working class the area and the audience, the better they liked these jokes. And I think, like, I definitely think they knew I wasn't being serious. Like, I'd chosen to move to the Northeast. You know, I wasn't born and raised there. I made a choice to be there. I clearly didn't actually hate it. But it was, I don't know, they liked it and it was surprising. And I found, even now, like, I don't make those jokes anymore. But even now, I found the audience that likes me the best. It's not at all what I expected. I thought it would be the woke students. They don't like me, but it's it's working class, middle-aged people. That's my target audience, and it's not what I was expecting.
No, and I wouldn't have thought it would. So, you know, because some people they're kind of like set in the ways, and they don't like. There's a lot of guys I know, especially older, like they don't like female comedians as well.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it were like. Back in the day, it was very well, like a lot of industries, like male dominated. Girls aren't allowed
That's
looking.
still a thing.
I can imagine it is. I mean, I did want to ask, like, is there anything you've kind of encountered as an obstacle in that sense, and what is it, and how have you dealt with it?
So there's pros and cons to being a woman in comedy. There are pros, but the cons are like I've been in a venue. I wasn't gigging there, but I was watching a gig, and the owner of the venue straight up said, I don't find women funny. Like, he had no shame in it. He just said it. And I'm like, you're running a gig. You've got women on the lineup. He didn't book them, obviously. But it's like, how do you at least not recognize what you're saying and have a bit more shame about it? Say it in private. But he was just so brazen with the women aren't funny.
Just think it if that's what you're going to do. You don't have to tell people every single thing you're thinking.
I know, but it shows like how okay he thought it was.
Yeah.
I've heard other people say that as well. And it's always the middle-aged gammon men. Always. You can tell by looking at them.
Made in England tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
They usually look a bit like me, but just a bigger earring and a slightly bigger belly.
Yes.
It's coming. It's the future.
You've got another like 10, 20 years.
I'm practicing on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. I've also had So I've had a couple of weird experiences. The worst day I've had in comedy as a woman in comedy was it was a festival last year, and it was just a day-long comedy festival. It was, do you know the Dead Men Talking podcast?
Yeah.
It was their festival, Dead Meat. It was fantastic. I loved it. Great day. I was there working, like checking tickets on the door and stuff. And two weird things happened that festival. The first one, I was stood in the field near a tent, chatting to someone else working there. And there was a group of 3 lads. And one of them came over to me and he said, "Would you mind taking a picture of us?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, it's fine." And he gave me his PIN to unlock his phone. Just thought that was a bit weird, but it's fine. I took his phone, I typed in the PIN, and it unlocked, and the phone opened up.
Transferred 300 quid.
Yeah, should have done. It opened onto a picture of me.
Right. He wanted you to find that, didn't he?
Yes. It was just a picture of me stood there having a conversation with someone, and he'd made it his home screen.
That's so weird.
I know. What's the reaction he was looking for?
Do you think he thought it were going to be a compliment?
I have no idea.
Because it's not.
I know. And as well, none of them said anything after that. They just, because like he was just stood there kind of laughing, and his friends were a bit behind just looking uncomfortable. And I'm like, you don't even seem to be enjoying this. I don't know what the point is. I don't know how you want me to react. I just went, okay, well, you've just given me your unlocked phone. I turned around and walked off with it. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with it.
Text mom.
It was really weird. And like, it kind of made me feel uncomfortable, but I was mostly just baffled. Like, I just don't know what.
That's I mean, I've seen some weird stuff, and that's a new thing to me.
It was new for me. Yeah. It was, I just don't know what they were going for.
And this is just like a punter then? It's just just a general guy?
Yeah. They were just there to watch the festival. It was just weird.
Is there any other kind of punters been like problematic then? Like off, obviously not like hecklers, because I know lots of comedians get that type of stuff. Like off stage, you kind of like experience weird guys like that then.
Not many off stage. I did have one. The other weird thing that happened at that festival, I did their gong show, which is the one time I've won.
Yeah.
I did theirs. It was Tony Carroll was hosting it, and as I was getting up to walk onto the stage, he was talking to me as I was walking up, and he said, "Oh, have you done any comedy before?" And I started to be like, "Oh yeah, I've been going for one." I was like, "Oh, actually no. You know what? No, I've never done comedy before. I'm just going to tell you that so you don't expect anything from me." Just a stupid little joke as I was walking up. But this guy in the audience, just a random guy, said, "We don't expect anything from you. You're a woman." Like, didn't even make a joke of it, just straight up, "You're a woman, you're going to be shit." Like, at least be funny. At least be funny. Come on.
He's not even trying to get her a laugh. He just needs you to know.
Yeah. I was just, that's like, why? Like, Tony laid into him. The other audience members booed and everything. I think I made a joke about it when I went up. And then I won. So, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But he actually came up to me later. As I was walking past, he came up and he said, "I was the guy that said that. I'm really sorry, I was trying to be funny." And I just said, "Yeah, well, it wasn't funny. I was just not."
Well, I didn't expect anything from you.
No, you're a man. I didn't expect anything from you. I didn't expect any, emotional awareness. It's fine. At that point, I just wasn't in the mood. I was just like, it wasn't funny. You shouldn't have said it. Fuck off. And there were people that had overheard this conversation. They didn't know what he did in the backstory. They just heard him coming up to me being like, "No, can you fuck off?" And they were like, what the fuck just happened? But that was weird. I don't get many issues off stage. Sometimes people ask me like, "Oh, do you get audience members in your DMs?" And it's like, not really. That's not really a thing. I did have sometimes that happens. Not often, which is quite good. And then at gigs, like, I tend not to hang around too much. Sometimes I do. Sometimes, if I've had a really good gig and I feel like I need a little boost, if it's been a really good gig, sometimes I'll just linger near the audience and wait for them to say nice things to me. I know it's disgusting. I'm like, I make eye contact with them until they come over to me.
Don't give me any compliments. Are you any good at washing dishes?
Got a dishwasher now. Don't need it. If I have a bad gig, I will just run away immediately. Like, I won't even talk to the other comics. I'm like, I don't want anyone to even remember my face. I'm just going to leave this venue straight away.
Oh, we've always done that. Like, if we, like my original band, we got like a really shit name. We call FAHRAN, but we, if we do like a support slot and stuff like that. So if you've enjoyed what you've heard, we call FAHRAN. And so if you thought we were shit, and I'll insert another band name on the circuit, usually a group of our friends, and just just.
I've seen comics do that. I think it's funny.
It's fine. It's so when you. I'm just going to go back to the like we're talking about techniques and things like that, and changing kind of personas and stuff. Have you kind of like settled on one that you kind of sticking with at the moment, and planning to just develop that over time, or are you still just sometimes going, oh, I fancy being a bit more a bully on stage, or a different style?
So I've settled on what I'm doing for now. That, I mean, probably will change again, but I'm trying to actually bring more of myself on stage, which is surprisingly hard to do. I feel like I've always got like a bit of a mask on or something. I'm trying to loosen up, and like, because my personality, like, I like being chatty. I also I like dark humor. I like being a dick to my friends. Like, that's just what it's what I'm like. I say awful things to them, and I want to be a bit more like that on stage.
You're describing me in a way.
You're welcome. So I want to be. I like doing crowd work, and it's funny to be a dick to the audience, but you've got to do it right. And I'm still trying to learn exactly where the line is. And like, you get away with being a dick more if you can do it with like a cheeky smile. You've got to keep your delivery light. So I want to be. I was talking to another comic about this, and he described this really well. I can't remember what he said, but it was perfect. And it was, no, I can't remember. But it's just being a charming prick, basically.
Yeah.
And I have a running joke with one of my friends, another comic, and it's basically that the joke is basically that I've got a massive ego. It's not true, but it's very fun to play up to that and just be like, oh, everybody loves me, I'm amazing, and that. I just think that's really fun to do, and it's fun to embody on stage. It brings a great perspective to your jokes, and it's like, and you can also kind of be self-deprecating with it, 'cause it's like, I've got such a big ego, I don't realize I'm being a prick. I don't realize I'm being stupid. And so like one bit I'm working on at the moment, it's actually kind of based on a real thing that happened. I got too into ChatGPT, right?
Right.
I mean, like, too into it. I was asking it to compliment me, and it did. And I think, and I think that's
load the dishwasher.
Oh, I wish. And I think that's a really funny angle to have, and just being like so unself-aware and just thinking you're the best person in the world. I just think that's really funny. I don't know if anyone else is going to like it. I don't know if the audience is going to like it, but I think it's funny. So I want to be a self-absorbed prick, basically, and it's channeling the fun parts of my personality. I'm not going to say I'm actually like that, but it's something that I find funny. It's a character I enjoy playing. It's, I've got a healthy ego, but not to that extent. So it still feels, it's in a way authentic, 'cause it's what I want to do, what I enjoy doing. It's how I actually am with my friends in that joking around sense. So that's what I'm going with at the moment. And I've got a few jokes that lend themselves quite well to that persona. I also think it's a little bit unique, which could be a bad thing. Maybe there's a reason. There's not many people doing that. But I think it's interesting. A lot of the female comics I see, by no means all of them, but a lot of them do tend to lean into being more low status, more self-deprecating, which works, a lot of them. And it's great. But I think it'd be interesting to do something different, to just go the other way. Because I feel like there's a gap in the market for probably like women my age, like late 20s, early 30s, who just want to see a woman like that on stage, just not being self-deprecating, just owning the fact that
not a Kathy Burke, Joe Brand, just saying anything and just ripping themselves to shreds as they do,
just being more high status, being more.
I think like Catherine Ryan's probably a good example of that.
Yes, she is. I went to see her show recently. It was fantastic. She did stand-up in the first half, and then she did crowd work in the second half, and the crowd work was fantastic. It was so good. it's clearly like that's clearly where her strength is. Like on the panel shows and everything, she's always hilarious. So her show is brilliant. That's a very good example. Yeah, we'll go that way. Also, Taylor Tomlinson. She's American,
I'll have to have a
early
look.
30s. She's very good. She's very good. She's doing a few shows in the UK this summer. I'm going to see her in July. She's another one that's a bit like that. So that's kind of where I'm thinking at the moment, but it's probably going to change again. And I've also got, for about a year now, I've had a character in the back of my head
Right.
that I've been thinking about bringing out, but it's kind of like the stage persona is kind of going that way anyway. So the character is, this came about because I did a gig and I bombed, and it's the worst bomb I've done. And like, it was the one, I've only had one bad gig, and that was this one. And it was another comic who actually just made me feel like shit. And this person, he or she, this other comic, she really latched on to the fact that she thinks I'm posh. And it was very much, you haven't experienced what these people have, and that therefore somehow that made me not funny. And it just got really personal. And that really upset me for a while. Partly just because she made these assumptions about me, and that's not my life.
Yeah.
But also, it was a horrible gig, and I just wasn't, like, I needed to go home and cry. I didn't want someone just following me around after the gig being like, here's how you can make it better. But what I took away from that, what I did with that, I took everything this other comic, everything this person thought I was, I basically made it into a character. I've named the character Lulu. I don't think I'm ever going to do anything with her, but she's posh. She's oblivious. She's very high status. She, dresses in pink fluffy clothes. She's just fabulously dumb and rich. And I think that would be hilarious to do. I don't know if I'm ever going to do it. I've got like a few ideas, but I think that could be really quite fun. And I like the idea that it's come from what this person thought of me. And it's like, this is my weird alter ego.
Could be a sign. I mean, like the character thing for stand-up, it works really well. But it only works really well if people actually realise it's character, don't
yes. Yeah, which is my other... Are they just going to think it's real?
Yeah. I mean, because I've spoke to Alex Lowe, who doesn't describe himself really as a stand-up. He says he's an actor, but he does do stand-up.
Yeah.
Obviously as Clinton Baptiste, and he's done it as like Barry from Watford. But it's like, there are genuinely people online still who think that Clinton Baptiste is a real person.
That's so funny.
And then it's the same with like characters like Angelos, and even like Joe Wilkinson when he goes on does that. I mean, he kind of goes as himself, but he's like doing a bit of a dorky character, but then he's quite normal. Just almost seems a little bit kind of closed and quiet, really, when he's not that character. And those characters, they do work really well because it throws people off because makes them so uncomfortable because they're just like, whoa, this is extreme. This is because it's not just another person turning up in jeans and t-shirt telling a few jokes. I've just had a fallout with my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whatever, and it's just usual crap. Come out with the most bizarre stuff, and you can because you've created a character, so now you can even come up with really, really extreme stories. And
that's why it's quite a nice thing to do artistically, because you get to explore different perspectives that you couldn't really do as yourself. That's why it's quite interesting. That just reminded me, a few weeks ago at Creatures Comedy Club in Manchester, they did a dating show thing. It's what was that? It was based on a dating show in the 90s. I can't remember what it was called.
Blind Date.
Yes, it was that. It was fantastic. It was a comedian called Natalia Schwartz. She was being Cilla Black, and it was great. And I was on the first one of that as one of the contestants. So they had 3 female comics, and they did it again with 3 male comics. And I chose to do a persona for that, kind of, sort of leaning into this idea I've had for a while, but like I didn't fully go for it. I just kind of played with it a little bit. And I made up a backstory for myself that I'd had been romantically involved with Vladimir Putin, and had, in an offhand comment, told him that I thought President Zelensky was fit. And so he invaded Ukraine. I thought this was a very funny idea. The audience didn't like seem. I think you just say Ukraine war and people go on edge.
Too soon.
I think it was risky, but I thought it was very funny. And like, you know, and it did get laughs. It was funny. I had a little notebook that just said "Daddy Vladdy" on it with a big with a big heart around it. And it was, you know, it was great fun. Very much enjoyed doing it. It was just fun to be silly like that on stage and just acting a little bit. It was really fun. But I actually, on Hinge a bit later, I matched with a guy who had seen me doing that, and he sent a message being like, "Oh, how's Daddy Vladdy?" And my first thought was, do you know that was an act? And I was like, maybe he thinks that's what I'm actually like, and that's why he's matched me. He's going to find out I'm not that, and he's going to unmatch.
Yeah. I need someone really chaotic. You should
just wants to compete with Zelensky.
You should have just carried on. Just put him to the test.
I know.
Like, well, if you can handle this.
Oh yeah.
So you don't. Obviously, we're talking about you doing your comedy stuff like that, and then that's a different string to your bow, playing the kind of the character type thing. You've got another string to your bow where you're kind of like promoting shows as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you're running comedy nights. So how long's that been going, and how did that come about?
So the comedy club I run is called Two Grand Comedy, and I run that with a guy called Kenny Watt, and we did the comedy course together when I first started. He also lives in Middlesbrough. Also, I don't live there anymore. He lives in Middlesbrough, and there were hardly any gigs in Middlesbrough. We were driving like an hour to Newcastle to get an open mic. There was nothing local to us. It was a pain in the ass. So we set up a new acts, new material night in Middlesbrough. And just to get stage time for ourselves was the main thing. We just didn't want to have to keep driving so far. And we also thought it'd be a good way to network, because like building your connections in comedy is massive. It's how I get almost all of my gigs. I rarely apply for things. I just wait to be asked.
Yeah.
Which sounds awful, but it's because I'm lazy. And so it would be a great way to have people come to us. They would get to know our gig. We'd get to put this thing on. We'd get to eventually host it was the plan. At first, we would too inexperienced to host it well, so we got people in to do that. So we did that pretty much as soon as we finished this course. Like, we were brand new to comedy, and we thought, let's start our own night. And it was great. The first one, absolutely packed out. It was amazing. We started running it weekly. That was a terrible idea. No one came. The first one packed, is like we'd promoted it well. We had two professional comedians on the lineup. And then it was just going to be a weekly, mainly a space for people to come and try new material. But we just couldn't get an audience. Like, Middlesbrough, like, it's not a small town, but it's not a city. There wasn't the demand for that. The city centre, there's not much going on. There's not loads of people about.
Yeah.
It was difficult. And it was stressful. Like, me and Kenny both work full time. We were both gigging a lot. And then we had to find time to run a weekly gig as well.
Yeah.
It was too much. So we ploughed on for a few months, and then we put it down to monthly. And everyone had told us to do it monthly. They said weekly won't work. And I said, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. But, you know, we had to try it ourselves. You learn from your own mistakes. And doing it monthly worked great.
Yeah.
We started getting a regular audience. We got to know some of them. It was great. You walk in, it's like, oh, Andrew's there again. It was really nice. People started to, they started to hear about our gig. People would ask to come and do it. Even before I started doing comedy, I went to the Stand and I watched a weekend show, and I saw one guy on there who I thought was really funny, was really great. So then, like 6 months later, he's messaging me being like, can I come do a spot at your gig? And I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. And that was going really well. And then we set up a pro night as well. We did that. I think we did the first one in July of last year, but I also might have made that up. It's semi recent, less than a year. I think longer than 6 months. We do that at a different venue in Middlesbrough. And that's, we charge, that's a tenner for tickets. We get professional headliner, professional MC, semi-professional opener. And we have newer spots in the middle, which we give to like our friends mostly. And that's fantastic. It's stressful because you've got real money on the line. Yeah. So yeah, you've got to pay the acts. You've got to get the people in. It's got to work. And we struggled a bit working with the venue at first because they weren't, like they have to be in it. They have to be promoting it as well. They've got to push it to their existing customers. And we're trying to find other customers and bring them in. It was a bit stressful. You've got to find the right acts for your particular audience.
Yeah.
Because that venue, it's a pub on the outskirts of Middlesbrough, and it tends to be, it's a slightly older demographic around there. Not old, but like middle-aged, I'd say. And you want the comedians to cater to your audience to a certain extent. You want to know what's going to work for them. So it was quite stressful running it, especially because I'm the most disorganized person ever, and Kenny's not far behind. So we're not the best on that side of it. And we're in a bit of a hiatus at the moment because where we have the new act, new material night, they refurbished the venue, so that was shut for a bit. And then we didn't really have a plan for when it was going to start again, and we keep being like, we're gonna do it this month? We're gonna do it, and then something comes up. I move across the country. Kenny has a thing, and we're actually having a meeting tomorrow to discuss what we're doing with it.
Right.
Just because we want to get it running again. We know people like it. It's a good space. We had a good regular audience. It's just a bit of a pain in the ass, especially now I've moved away. So it's just a bit of a pain in the ass. And if I'm being honest, I don't love promoting.
Yeah. Maybe it served its purpose. Like you said, you created it to network and to get yourself some shows, but now you know people and now you're getting shows.
I've met all of them now.
Yeah.
and we're getting gigs. Yeah, I don't love running it. I'm not quite sure how Kenny feels, but because we're both so busy, it kind of needs both of us.
Yeah.
I think. Running the pro night is good in the sense that it's nice to be in touch with the pro comics, and you're like, I'm always going to need networking in that sense. But it's more stressful because, we've got to make money. The last one we actually made a profit, which is very exciting. It all just went back into the night. We haven't seen any money from it yet. Yeah. But it's quite nice to have that idea of maybe we could actually make some money from it, because I'm desperate to one day quit my day job. It's not going to be anytime soon, but it's good to think about different avenues for money, because comedy notoriously doesn't pay well. So promoting could be an option. And it's just quite cool to put on those nights like that. Like when it goes well, when you see, like we sold out last time. We sold too many tickets, and I said we've got to cap it before that room was full to bursting. And one of the headliner heard me saying that, and he was like, "Oh, I'm Amy Albright, and I sold too many tickets." And it's like, yeah, but the room was just too full. But it's such a good feeling. People coming out happy, laughing, saying they love the night. They go and they leave reviews, and it's amazing. But the whole night, I'm pacing up and down the venue. Yeah. I'm just stressing. Is it going all right? Are the acts okay? The venue okay? Is there gonna be a bar staff there? Is everyone all right? And I'm just not enjoying myself. It's
a different skill set completely, though, isn't it? It's like, you don't even have to be a comedian to promote a comedy night. Yeah. Some of the best promoters don't even have involvement in what's going on, which is sometimes probably better, because they can just literally think about the media side of it and the money side of it and working that out. Trying to do both is a nightmare. I've done it myself, organising events and putting things on, risking money and trying to be part of the show at the same time, and it's just bedlam. Especially if something goes wrong and suddenly you're on in 5 minutes, but you need to sort a problem out when you need to be getting yourself in the zone. It's not ideal. No. I find it very stressful. In theory, I'd like to keep doing it if I can find a way to make it less stressful. Like if we just get it going, it's just a well-oiled machine. We know what's happening every time. Nothing goes wrong. It just ticks over nicely by itself. Like that would be the ideal scenario, because then we get to keep running that. It's spots for us. It's spots for our friends. It's hopefully getting a bit of money in. It's networking. So there's a lot of reasons to keep doing it. Yeah. But I've got to keep my stress levels down. Yeah. Well, it might, like say, you've only just moved. You've still got maybe get them packed first.
Yeah. I've been saying that for months, though.
Get those dishes out of the black bags and wash those.
The dishes are clean now. The dishes are clean. The boxes aren't packed. It's actually so bad. I actually had a date the other day, and it went well, and the guy came back to mine. I made him wait in the hallway for 10 minutes while I tidied up for him.
Oh, God.
In the hallway, he just stood there for 10 minutes.
Well, at least he knows you just weren't, like, planning on it, so it's like, he's obviously done well.
You know what? That's true. Yeah. It was mortifying. It was still messy when I came in. I did my best.
But yeah, the promoting thing, it's like, just have that breathing space. Jump back in when you feel like you're ready. Because that's something that, like, you might know in a few months, because now you're going to get like settled in Manchester, you might get so busy that you think, actually, I can't do this. Or you might naturally just find the time and go, you know what, it weren't just a stepping stone. This could be a cool thing. And once they realise that it's consistent and it's there, it's every month. The comedians are good. There's some new people, but there's some, you know, some old favourites and stuff like that as well. And it's running in a good way. They, like I say, it's building that trust again, isn't it? But on a different level, and it's so that it's a word of mouth thing. People will just keep bringing friends along to it all the time. You could get to a point where you're like, you know, going to a bigger venue then, and you're doing the same thing but just for more money. So which is always the plan as a promoter, isn't it? You know, just trying to get more and more bums on seats.
Yeah, we originally talked about wanting to get multiple venues, and you know, have them all under the umbrella of 2 Grand Comedy and make it a thing. We're thinking about getting a village hall next, and going for like the smaller places that don't really have much going on, but doing it less regularly. So we did have this plan, and we wanted to branch out, but it's just been a bit of a struggle, especially the last few months. Like, I've had stuff going on. Kenny's also had just life things happen. So like, that's been the main reason we stalled at the moment, just because just life does happen. But I just don't really know yet. I think we're going to get back into the swing with at least the pro night, because it's nice to get some money coming in. Yeah, is a good thing.
Do once a quarter. Just dip your toe in. Yeah. And then once you're like you said, it's when you have a couple of weeks off from anything. Yeah. Getting back into it again. So you just got to book it. It's one of those.
Yeah.
That's what happens with friends with nights out. You know, if you don't book it, it will never happen.
It's never going to happen.
We'll just keep waiting, and then it gets to 2 weeks before, and someone's got this on, and that one's got that on. And just nail a date, 4 months from now, crack on with it. And that's the only way it's going to work.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I don't know why I feel like I'm like giving you this like motivational talk, because
I need it. Please do.
Because I'm just terrible myself with it. I do the same thing. We just put things off, and then like, probably should have organised that, because now I ain't got time to do that.
Yeah. Thing. Yeah, and I keep just picking up other projects. I say yes to everything, which is how then I routinely just burn out, because like I work full-time, I gig. Sometimes I've gigged like 6 nights a week before, and then running the gigs. And now I've ended up, I'm working on a sitcom at the moment. I was chatting to another comedian who's also an actor, and I'm acting in the trailer for his Edinburgh show next week, which is just another thing that popped up. And I'm like, yes, of course, I will do that. Any interesting thing, I'm like, yes, I'm in. And he asked if I had any interest in writing sitcoms. And I said, yes, of course, who doesn't? No experience, but yeah, absolutely. It's a new exciting thing. I want to do it. Let's do it. So now that's happening, and I'm helping him write a sitcom. And his name's Liam Tully. He's acted in a few things, and he had a pilot episode produced, and I watched, and it was very funny. And now we're working on something new, and his agent can get our script in front of producers. So that's a very exciting thing that's happening. We're meeting on Saturday to like sit down and start working on the first episode. We've got an idea that I think has, you know, it could be something. It's very exciting. So I've got that happening. I've got just like my day job is crazy busy at the moment as well, and then I've got the gigs, and it's just it's a lot, and I'm just awful for just saying yes to everything, and then I will burn out for a while, and then I'll come back and do the same thing again.
It's one of those. It's like sometimes it's like you don't want to let people down when they ask you, but then you also don't want to miss an opportunity, because you think, what if something really good comes from it? And because you literally never know, do you? Like you just turn up places and do something, and then suddenly you might cross paths with somebody that's could be really, really helpful to you.
That's been most of my comedy career so far. Like I've always said, I'm better at networking than I am at comedy. And it's you meet people and they offer you opportunities. And it's like, I remember I did a gig April last year in Milton Keynes. I drove 3.5 hours to do an unpaid 10-minute spot in Milton fucking Keynes. It's 3.5 hours. I didn't know where it was when I agreed to it. I think I'd done like a new act, new material night for this guy, and he said, "Oh, that was really good. Do you want a spot on a pro lineup?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "It was in Milton Keynes." I'm like, "That's fine. I'll Google it later. It's fine. It's fine." It's 3.5 hours, and I got there.
That's without traffic.
Yeah. I think it took me longer to get there. And especially because I probably lost my keys and I left an hour late. Well, I got there and the gig was great. It just went really well. Annoyingly, I didn't film it. And I didn't think, and I wished I had that footage, because you need a good video to apply for other gigs. And that's one of the main reasons I don't apply for anything, because I don't like any of the videos I've got. And I'm like, it needs to be a perfect video before I'll let anybody see it.
You've got to film everything, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like you say, if you're going to do the same 5-10 minute slot, just film it 10-20 times.
Yeah, especially if you get like a good audience interaction, or like I'm always changing my set. I've got like, at the moment I've got 2 bits that stay the same, and then the other few minutes would be something different every time, which isn't the best way to do it, but it's because it's just how I don't know, I'm just bad at writing new material. But that gig went amazing, and the headliner there was Simon Wozniak, who based in Liverpool. He's a pro comic, and I met him there, and he saw me do well at the gig, which I wasn't doing well at every gig at that point, just that one went really well. And then we stayed in touch. I think I might have done a couple more gigs with him later at some point. And then he also runs a podcast, and I went on that. And then this year, he got offered a tour support slot in Middlesbrough. He didn't fancy it, so he asked if I wanted it. I think he just heard Middlesbrough and connected it to me. I wasn't even living there at the time. But it means, again, that was an opportunity. I just went, yes. Like, you don't do tour support a year or 18 months in. Like, it normally takes a lot longer than that. But it was like, he'd seen me do well. He just thought, Middlesbrough, Amy Albright. And so I did a tour support slot for a big social media guy. I've forgotten his name. That's bad. He does.
Just move your mouth and then we'll just record it later and add it in.
It's Shabazz Ali. And he does Shabazz Says. That's his social media thing. And he's got like 2 million followers. And I opened for him on tour in Middlesbrough, which is just like, it's an opportunity you just don't get this early in your career. And it's because I drove 3.5 hours to Middlesbrough last year, to Milton Keynes last year.
For 10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Which sounds mental, but
it is mental.
Clearly worth it.
Yeah, it is. And like, it's just who you meet, and then opportunities come about, and it's like, and that's how I get most of the things I've done. And I've definitely gotten lucky with the things I've done so early in my career. I've gigged abroad, like paid expenses.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you about that. How did that come about then?
That was a weird one. It happened because of a Facebook argument.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not an invasion.
No. It was over such a petty thing that I didn't care about that much, but I was just correcting somebody on something. I shouldn't have got involved, but I did. And then it was on another comedian's Facebook, and like, it was all pretty pleasant. It was me and this guy and then this other woman I didn't know, who were quite pleasantly debating something. It wasn't a big deal. And then this other comedian waded in, guns blazing. He was mad. Don't know why. It was nothing to do with him, but he just got angry and he was yelling at everybody, furiously typing. And he called this other woman a bitch, and he was just mad, and he called me some names, and like, it got personal at one point. And the weirdest thing was, I'd met him earlier that day and he was so nice. So, but now he was just like so angry at me.
It's the internet, though, isn't it?
I know.
Everyone's big bollocks online.
But they've got a screen in front of them. Yeah, it was so weird. But he was being really unpleasant. And so he called this other woman a bitch, and she said, "Well, I guess we won't be seeing you in Malaga then. Amy, would you like a paid spot?" And I was like, what just happened? It turns out she runs a gig in Spain. She had booked this guy. He'd called her a bitch, and she went, "Not having you anymore. Do you want a gig?" And I was like, yes, please. I'm not good enough for this opportunity, but I will take that with both hands.
Well, there's a life lesson there, isn't there?
Argue on Facebook.
Get involved in other people's conversations.
Absolutely. It taught me the wrong life lesson. But that was an amazing experience. There were like really good comics on the lineup. The gig went so well. I was shitting myself before the gig. I was so nervous because I just felt like I wasn't prepared, which is...
You're watching The Fly.
I know, I'm watching The Fly.
Oh, I missed him.
It is a running theme in my life that I'm not prepared. I have a reputation for getting to gigs and then scribbly writing down what I'm going to say and not knowing what I'm going to say until I get up there. So I was very nervous. I just didn't feel like I belonged there. And I was expecting I was the middle act. And I was expecting the opener to go on, have a break, and then me. But the MC, who ended up being the woman who booked it, because we actually had a dropout. And she was brand new. She did a fantastic job, though. But she just went straight from the opening act to me. And I was sat there with my notes going, I've got time. I've got time. And then she goes, and now Amy Albright. And I went, what the fuck? And I looked at the comedians, like the other comedians, they saw the panic in my eyes. They went, no, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Just do your best. But it went great. And I had like newish bits that like I was worried I was going to forget. But it just went really well. And I've got the video to that, and like it went so well I use it to apply for other things when I eventually do apply. And it was awesome. But that was the first night in Malaga. We did another gig the next night that was horrific.
Right.
It was mainly the venue. So it was in a fancy jazz bar, like a fancy bar, and they just put a microphone in the middle of the room. And it was like a rectangular room, and we were just in the middle. So you're playing down both sides.
Right.
The audience didn't know there was going to be comedy there. It was a free night. They're just wandering in.
Oh, that's fun.
The bar is being as loud as possible. And the people there weren't fluent in English, and I don't speak any Spanish. It was horrific. And I was opening that one because the opener we had the night before, like she flew back. So I had to open. I'd never opened before. The people didn't want to listen to anything I had to say, and I just did not know how to handle it. And there was a Spanish couple sat right in front of me, and they were just talking the whole time in loud, aggressive Spanish, and I didn't know what to do. I addressed them, because like, you have to, when they're talking over you have to control the room, and you have to just get them to shut up as well.
Yeah.
It's like I did address them. They didn't look up. They didn't know I was in the room. And so, like, the set is out the window at this point. Like, everything is just so off the rails. So I did the only thing I could think of, and I dubbed over their conversation to the rest of the room. And it was a couple, and I was like, oh, he's asking if he can go down an hour. And I'm like, this is the only thing I think of to do. And it ended up being very funny. And I should have, like, I was just nervous because it was a shit show. But I found a funny thing, and I should have stayed in that moment a bit more, which I think is something you get with experience, is just being more present. Because you've got to make a lot of decisions in the moment whilst you're up there, which is very hard to do because everyone's looking at you. You've got to keep talking whilst also planning and thinking and making decisions.
Yeah, I think you've got to acknowledge things. You can't, like you say, you can't just ignore it and just look there nervously and don't say anything. Just talk about it and just literally point out that that's happening.
Yes.
And hopefully come up with something funny to about it. But no, I mean, we want one of my bands that we do like a tribute show to something, and we were playing in a theatre in somewhere in England earlier this year, and we someone fell asleep in the front row while we were playing. There's like a full production behind us, like everything's going, lights, full band blasting, people singing and dancing, and someone was just sat on the front row asleep, and I could just see the head going and then gone. And then I think they woke up for maybe a couple of times for 5 or 10 minutes and just basically slept through the show.
Wow.
And you just take that on board.
Yeah.
I don't really, because like for us, it's like do you acknowledge that?
Yeah.
Because at first I was thinking, do I make a joke out of that? But like in between, when like sometimes we'll talk to the audience about things, and I thought they might have like a serious problem, and we're not comedians, so I can't just start like reeling off dark humor or anything like that, because they're not there for that.
No, it is a risk. And as well, if it's on the front row, the rest of the audience can't see them. They don't know.
No,
like you've got to address it if everybody knows. You can
could only see them because of the lights that were behind us. We just see the first couple of rows of seats, and I was like, someone's asleep, and I was like,
so funny.
It was just weird. But just in case it was something serious, I'm just not going to mention which theatre it was.
I think that's sensible.
So what's your plan now that you're kind of almost settled in then? What's the game plan for like the rest of this year?
So I've got a few exciting things going on this year. I've got the next big gig that I'm like, has to go well. That's at the end of this month. And that's a gig for a promoter called Anthony J. Brown, and he does a lot around Leeds and Yorkshire. They're always fantastic gigs. at different places. So I don't think he's got like a comedy club name. They're always just like, it's the name of the venue they pop up here and there. So it's quite hard to find them. But I've done a few for him before. But I'm doing one at the Ilkley Playhouse on the 24th of May. And that's the one I'm like, I want to get ready for that because it's Scott Bennett headlining.
Oh, he's amazing.
He is, isn't he? He's my favourite circuit comedian. And I know anytime I say that to my comedian friends, like, you know, they get offended, but it's fine. I don't care. Yeah. Scott's great. He's my favourite. Any comedians listening, fuck you. So I want that to go well because it's a good gig. And like, I mean, the headliners often show up for their spot. They didn't always see the middle act. So I'm still like, oh, I want someone I respect to see me do well. As well as like, it's a weekend gig. The audience have paid money to be there. So that's I've got gigs before then, but that's the one I'm like, I want to be tip top by then.
Yeah.
And then I've also got my first festival gig this year. So I've got an open spot at 2,000 Trees, which will be pretty cool. So you get a weekend pass. I'm bringing my friend. We're having a little holiday. She's very excited.
There's bands on and stuff as well, isn't there? So you can just
exactly.
And get drunk and
my friend's going to hit on all the band members. It's going to be great. I'm going to get a tent to myself. So that's exciting. I've got that happening. I've got a few things. Like I've got bookings through to October, November now. So anytime, part of me is like, oh, I might quit comedy. I'm like, no, I've got so much booked in. Like I literally can't. I've got so much happening. So I'm going to,
You've got to get through that first 5 years. You know,
I know. I can't quit. Yeah, I'm still meant to be shit.
You'll probably enjoy it even more after them 5 years. If that's the standard where they say that like you're still kind of finding your way.
Yes.
Then just imagine how much more you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
In the second 5 years.
When I've actually got a set that I can just do and not write before I go on stage.
Just like wait when you're like 45 to 50 years old and you hate everything. And
perfect.
You'll just reel it off. You'll not even be thinking about technique because you'll just be just abusing the front row.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the goal. That's another thing. I do want to get into emceeing more. So I've started doing it a little bit. I've done it a few times. I've got another emceeing gig next week. But that's something I really enjoy doing. It's like I do just like chatting to the audience. Like my main thing, I just love being on stage. More than I love comedy, more than I love telling jokes. I just want to be on stage talking to people. I really like emceeing. It also, I feel like it's a lot less pressure because like I struggle to remember my set. And especially because I've just written it before I go on. But emceeing, you don't prepare. You just show up and just see what happens. And that's so liberating. And I love doing that.
There's a lot of crowd work, isn't there, with MCs? I've noticed. They will pop a few jokes in, but they tend to just... I think... I don't know if this is right, but I'm just guessing, so you probably might be able to tell me from behind the curtain, but it's like when they're asking questions to the audience and just finding things out about them and the names and the weird things that they do, obviously the comedians that are on can hear it. So is that kind of them kind of just setting the ground for you all so that you could maybe pick on that later? Or
so sometimes I wouldn't say it's like the plan, but comedians definitely use it. And I used to actually, you've just reminded me of a joke I used to do that I completely forgot about that I'm now going to start using again. It's a joke that requires knowing someone's name. So it's, it's an awful joke, I'll tell you. I say that one of my friends is vegan and she really hates being called the vegan. Like she'll go out to eat and people say, where's the vegan? And I think that's wrong. I don't think we should call people based on what they eat. Because if we did, it's our audience member's name, Dave here or whoever, would be called Amy Albright's Fanny. And it's a bold way to open, I will give you that. But if it's done right, the first time I did it, it was a guy on the front row. It was at the stand in Newcastle. It was this massive guy in the front row, not fat, just like jacked dude. He was enormous. And the whole night, he had just been like the butt of every joke, but he was fully on board with it.
Yeah.
His name was Steve, and he was a trooper. We fucking love Steve. He was great. So I said, Steve, we called Amy Albright's Fanny, and the room just erupted. It was fantastic. So you listen to find people's names or find something. So for me, it was like I have this joke already. I'd only do it if there was someone like that in the room that like we already knew about them. The audience would be happy for them to be the butt of a joke. It doesn't really work with a random person. So like people are listening for that kind of thing. But I think the main reason is just to get the audience warmed up. And it's like you want them to feel like a cohesive unit. So like there's a lot of weird things you don't really realize about in comedy. And one of them is things like how the room is set up. So even little things like if you've got a aisle down the middle of the room, you've got two separate audiences there. They won't necessarily laugh as one audience. You've got to win them over separately in a way. Little things like that. So you want to do your best to bring them as one. And that's the physical seating arrangement. That's why a lot of comedy clubs, you squash together.
Yeah.
It's because you react as one, the laughter spreads. And as well, that's why you talk to people. You feel like you know the audience. You get to know who's around you a little bit more. It just makes them more cohesive as one unit.
Yeah, because if you're talking to one person here, if there's someone they don't know squashed in at the side of them, they feel very involved because you're talking to the person next to them. So suddenly they feel kind of involved in the show.
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
Yeah, like it's only like a tiny bit. You don't suddenly feel like you know everybody's life, but it's just they'll feel like, oh, that's Big Steve on the front row. Everyone knows him. You feel part of it. You're more likely to, as well, just like making little jokes to get people to laugh. But like, there's a lot of like that kind of technique that goes into it and understanding the room, and like that's like the real stagecraft of it that I find really interesting. So yeah, you're getting information for the comedians and they are listening, but like very often the headliners will arrive for their spot because they're normally doubling, so they will miss that. So they'll just do their set. They often won't interact because they don't know what's happened earlier in the night. But it depends on the comedian. Like I will always listen and I'll refer back to it or use their name in one of my jokes. But yeah, I think it just depends.
I feel like I've learned a lot.
Good.
So, speaking of learning things, so I always like to end my podcasts on asking guests what advice you would give to your younger self based on what you know now.
Ooh, in life or comedy? Because I'd say get a dishwasher earlier.
Maybe do both, if you're willing.
In comedy, I'd say just do it. Just do it. You want to start, like I wish I'd started 10 years earlier. Everybody says that, but I started when I was 27 and I could have started at 17 and like I would be so much further now. So just do it. Like I know I couldn't have just rocked up to an open mic and done it. I knew I needed a course, so I should have just done that. Found my people. Just go and do it. You're gonna be shit at first. It's fine. Everybody is, except being shit. In terms of life advice to my younger self, get a dishwasher. You can't wash dishes. Stop trying to make yourself do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. Just can't.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
It's not for me, though, because my kitchen is absolutely tiny. There's nowhere for a dishwasher to go.
Oh, I made space. I've got one on the countertop. It takes up all the room. But I don't need room anymore because it used to be all dishes everywhere. They all go in the dishwasher. It's worth it. It's life-changing. Life-changing.
You've heard it here first. Well, thank you for coming across. It's very much appreciated. It's nice to see what's going on, especially in the life of a relatively new comedian as well, because I imagined it would be quite hard, and it sounds like it can be very hard at times, but it sounds like you've just got it by the horns and you're just cracking on. So great, great to hear, and good luck with it. And I'll hopefully we'll check in at some point later down the line, and you might have got a dishwasher upgrade. $2,000 comedy will be on the way, and then some big tour supports. You might have got a completely different accent. Who knows?
Oh, probably.
Thank you very much, Amy Albright.